Hey, publishing world. I have not been on the socials as much lately. Why? Well, do you hear my voice? 3 weeks of flu. Flu was super bad this year. I can barely talk, but here I am. And I wanted to share, what is it really like to go on submission? A lot of aspiring writers talk about querying and, getting published, and there's so much out there about querying. But I feel like there's not that much out there about the submission phase, which is just as important as querying. So submissions, once you have an agent and you're trying to get into, big traditional publishing, submissions is when your agent takes your book and sends it to editors. And hopefully the editor, you know, requests it and you get a publishing contract. Or maybe you even go on auction. That's a whole other thing. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what does it feel like. I'm going on submission right now with a middle grade novel. I've been on submission too many times before, and I have a lot of friends who have been on submission too. First thing I want to say is that it's really important to know two big things that are not talked about enough in publishing. First off, submission is lonely. Querying, in a lot of ways, is a group activity now. There are groups out there where people talk to each other and they all share all about querying. But once you have an agent, you're in a different situation. You're kind of viewed differently, especially by people who are still trying to get one. And the only person you're kind of communicating with in this whole submission phase is your agent. It's also really interesting because while there's basically one way to query, and there's rules around it, and you're going to use, websites, you're going to use things like Query Tracker, and you're going to look at their MSWL, and you're going to, follow whatever the website is, or maybe you're doing a pitch contest and so on. And you know what a query looks like, and you have your package, your first 3 chapters, and your synopsis. You have that, and it's the same basic format for queries. Well, guess what? Submissions, that's all out the window because there are no rules. This is the second thing I want to talk about. So the first thing is it is very isolated. It is very lonely. And once you get out there and you're waiting for your agent to contact you, you really have no control over it. And you're going to get some rejections. Maybe you have an agent who tells you every time you get a rejection, or maybe you have an agent who tells you, every few weeks they kind of give you a summary. Oh, we got rejections from XYZ. Maybe this person wants to hear a little more and is still considering. That's good. Or maybe you get that deal and that bite. Sometimes it goes very fast on submissions. Sometimes you get an offer, in less than a month. Sometimes it can take ages. And the other big thing about submissions, it's really important to know that a lot of books on submission do not get published, especially that round. I think a lot of people miss that. I don't have exact statistics. It's in fact really hard to find exact statistics. They're not out there as much. But it seems to be that roughly, 40 to 50% of the books that go on submission, and this is already past the gatekeeper of getting an agent, don't actually land. And maybe they land later. But again, if roughly half the books don't land, it really shows you how hard it can be to get that publishing deal. So I want to go back to the other thing. I said it's lonely. I said you're by yourself with your agent and you're just waiting. And this is when you need to start writing a new book. But the other thing I said is that there are no rules. This is so true. I've talked to a lot of authors, a lot of agented authors, and it's fascinating to me how every agent and every agency does it differently. Some agents send a query letter. They don't send a full book. They send a query letter out to editors. Hey, would you be interested in reading this book? Here's why you might like it. The editor wants it. Then they request the book and so forth. Other agents will send a book right away. We've got this book. You're going to like it. Here's my pitch. They'll come up with a pitch, and then they'll send the pitch and the book with it. There's no one way to do it. There's no rules. It's all kind of just whatever works. And the funny thing is, it's sometimes different things work for different agents, and different things work for different people, and different things work for different books. The very first book that went on submission for me went to a publisher, this is a main publisher, and they came right back and said, this is an absolute classic. This is one of the best books we've received. We're not going to take it. Yeah, that happens a lot too. So anyway, this is a little bit about submission. I'm going on submission now. Wish me luck. If you've been on submission, I would love to hear from you. If you are curious about submission, go ahead and post it in the comments below. I'd love to talk more about that too. Thanks.